Hey guys, welcome back to Silver Valley. In today's episode I'll be building a mountain or cavern mine to interact with the coaster. This is near the right hand turn right after the twist. I'm not sure what the twist is called. Zero G roll, that's what I think it's called. I'm going to build that, and that's also going to be my highest peak of the entire mountain range. So this is like Eagle Peak, maybe? You can call it Eagle Peak. And then I'm going to be placing out 3 more flat rides to kind of fill in the map. To be honest, like the rest of the map kind of got, I don't know, I kind of quickened up my pace and kind of didn't really work on more things. But I did decorate some flat rides to kind of match the rest of the scenery. Also, I got to complete some details that I wanted to finish and things like that. So I kind of just did that to finish up the map. But I do like the outcome of my Western little experiment because I haven't done Western in a long time. So over here, just figuring out to use some of the terrain as like my backdrop of the mountain, and then just put my cylinder shapes down to simulate mesa, and then just dirt decorating work. The mine shaft was kind of like a mix of like a tower and some buildings being suspended from the cliffside and things like that. Even though I don't think realistically this type of ride wouldn't ever interact with a mountain. I don't think so how wide the cars are, but again, it is Parkitect, so I can kind of fool around with things a little bit. So this was the fun part for me is building mountains and mountain ranges, and this is where like cool things happen. So the mine shaft over here probably is not owned by Silver Eagle. It could be made by another company or another competitor of the mining, market. And this is just the competitor basically. So I kind of made it different and a little bit more rugged looking and not as proper as the Silver Eagle's mining facility. So I kind of just went with my gut, kind of messing with pieces and squares. So I try to stay away from making just square buildings, do a little bit of a mix of rectangle and square, and then the idea of stacking at top itself like this kind of made it look like it's rickety or something. And also in the process I thought about making a service elevator of some sort that's done by pulleys. That's where that you can see the wooden structure actually that's protruding from the rectangular building on top. That's the elevator, and then below is just more maintenance buildings with facilities. Nothing like crazy here with this rock work. This is where I tried to do a pulley work, and I kind of experimented here and there and kind of messed up on the orientation of this wheel, because with an elevator the cable has to be in the center of the elevator the elevator's pulley system has to be in the center of I don't know how you call it. Carriage? Yeah, carriage. In the center of the carriage. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a carriage. So I just kind of made it very simple with the woodwork from the Western set, and then a couple pillars, and then some borders to accent it's made of metal. And then I centered the wire in the center, and then the pulley on top is actually the wrong orientation. That will move a little bit back to kind of line it up better. And I think this looks cool to do little details like this, because when you do full details like this, it really just makes the map more believable and alive when you do extra sets of details like this. And I urge you guys to try things like that as well, even though it might take you a while to do so. I added a gear to simulate that it's moving, even though it's not moving, but I do want to just give you the idea that has some life in its motion, and giving a kinetic motion like this makes it more believable. And so here's the different orientation I put, and it worked out pretty well actually. I used the little supports from the Western set. They are like the ones for the minecart track. I used that as like supporting That's actually a cool way to do like scaffolding. Actually, it's really cool. You should try it because it's like that piece is very versatile. Actually, I use that a couple times in some of the other builds around here. So here I'm trying to test out, trying to simulate the cable going through the wheel, but I felt like it was just too big in pieces, so I kind of just skipped it and moved on. Also in this map, I felt like I was missing some of the western buildings. I needed more western buildings, so I just kind of built 2 western buildings over here to kind of give it some, like, maybe this is a general store and a bank, maybe. I don't have names for them because I didn't think I needed to. The brick building over here was going to go underneath the track, but I felt like that was a little bit too close and too not realistic, so that later I get rid of that and change it over. I do change a lot of things with the layout here, basically. So western buildings, again, are very simple to construct because they're already squares or rectangles, and they have very basic facades. So they're not like hard to imitate versus, let's say, you're trying to imitate a, I don't know, Swiss village or a castle. This is a little bit easier to deal with. But also I want to make it look interesting at the same time, so that's where the hard part comes in, is that trying to make it look a little interesting to the eye and not make it so boring with the basic shapes. So adding little decorations, lamps, maybe some broken wood, a broken window, a chimney. Usually those details really bring out the build, because after you have that, then you kind of get the full picture of what this building's been through. That's kind of what I go for, and it kind of works itself out actually. So finishing up just details and then painting the roofs different colors to give it that rustic look again. I like these little tents that we got from the Adventure DLC. I think those work out as pirate tents or mining tents, or I don't know. They work really well for a lot of things, and changing the color really helps too. So over here I decided to put down an orbiter ride right next to the coaster's corkscrew. I don't think that's realistically would happen, but I needed something to fill in the space, and so I think the orbiter ride worked out really well. And I'm going to cover that with a building later. Normally that ride is really hard to cover, usually. Over here I did some detailing with the dirt burial ground to give it some different textures in the dirt pathing. And then I placed down one of my already pre-made wagons that I made, I think at least 2 years ago now. I built a wagon already for this map. That's already a video if you want to go check that out. It's a tutorial of how I built a covered wagon. And I put a couple covered wagons in this map to kind of showcase that there's wagons here and stuff like that. So I kind of did that. Over here is the final covering of the orbiter. So the orbiter was going to be either another barn or more of like a circular I don't know, roofing. I'm not sure what you would call it. So I did the measurements first of seeing the ride at its full tilt, paused it, and then figured out where the roof would go, and then built a triangular pyramid type roof with a little tower in the center and then some wooden structures around it. I like the green. I think the green worked out really well here, and it kind of made it like a I don't know if it would be called a plaza. Not a plaza. Plaza is like an open area. This is like a covered plaza, or a covered oh, what's that word? I know the word. I'm gonna sit here and think about it for a second. Pagoda. I think pagoda, not pagoda, but something close to that. What is the word for it? Oh, regardless, I'm thinking of a word and I can't think of it. It's okay. Moving on. Here I made a little side viewing angle for guests to watch their loved ones go on this ride if they don't want to ride it, and then adding tarps on top to give it that rustic, broken look. Like that section of the roof is broken, so they decided to cover it with some tarps. I think it's a really cool way to use the pavilions, because you can kind of stack them and stagger them like that, only because of Construction Anarchy, by the way. I did some scaffolding here too with the mine track supports. Now on to building of the rest of the giant peak. I'm going to call it Eagle Peak now at this point, because I think this is an appropriate name. for the Silver Valley. So this is Eagle Peak, and this is just kind of copying Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, basically, kind of building the same type of spire. And then I made different sediment colors, so light dirt, dark dirt, and a little bit of like a yellowish looking dirt. And then I had some brown ledges to accent it a little bit more, and then some rocks to showcase like some striping on the rocks. So I think this really is a cool way to do mountains in this game versus using terrain or just all the rocks. Also in this, I wanted to add some clouds at the top of the spire to give it that, ooh, it's mysterious, and there's these clouds that kind of hug the top of the mountain. And so I just kind of did my own technique with clouds that I did before, like in Whisperwind's Port. When I did that was my second scenario. I built clouds for that map. This is kind of the same idea here. Half spheres and the plates. I just kind of stack them around, and there you go, you got clouds. And then continuing with foliage and details and trees and stumps to simulate logging has been happening here because they found this place. And then make sure the peak was a little bit higher. Now on to a last minute addition was the launch tower. And so I stuck the launch tower in the middle of this helix, and it actually worked out pretty well. And so I decided to make this a oil drill. So in this valley there's also silver and oil. Across the street I quickly made a restroom because I felt like I needed another restroom to balance out what I already had across the river. Because in this build it's kind of like a section of a theme park that's doing a western theme, and so the mountains are not real. They're not necessarily real, so they're like facades, and then this can be connected to the rest of the park or something, kind of roughly. But I'd also make it look realistic too, so kind of fudging between two worlds there. I don't know. This building was just a experiment of making it look a little different than my other western buildings. Because again, when you build western buildings, you kind of just do the same shape over and over again, and I try to do different roofing styles and different props and things, and so I just kind of made a very basic shed and then the restrooms inside. Now when it came to the oil drill, I kind of made things up because I didn't really look at what a oil drill will look like, but again I have also a ride in there too, so I kind of had to fudge it a little bit. But I made it more, it actually worked out because of its squareness, that I can just add piping and scaffolding on the side to give it some more detail. And then I added like a tower on the side to kind of help it out. This ride's actually the most decorated because I tried out a little experiment with some pipes that you'll see in just in a couple seconds. You'll probably see it. What else did I do to this? I'm watching here. Oh, so yeah, structures, some cross beams, that's normal. I don't do too many cross beams because I think sometimes that oversaturates the structure. And here's some piping on the side. I did some steampunk pipes to simulate like gears, and then pipes, regular pipes just to do this. Here's the little thing I did with this ride. I did pipes on the rail of the launch and then copy that all the way to the top. Just kind of messing around. This was a weird thing to do, but I think it made it more like an oil rig, and I think that was an interesting thing to do. It kind of makes it some texture. And then I add some hoops of pipes also in the center to give it some more, I don't know, it's doing something. It's carrying oil in different orientations and things like that. So this was kind of like a weird little experiment. But that's what I like about Parkitect, that you can take the scenery and kind of build into the ride. It's really cool. So that's the oil rig so far. We're going to do a final tour of the park in a live view, and we can go over there now. Here we are in Silver Valley, and with the Silver Eagle Mining Company. So let's take a final tour of this map. And for the Coaster Bead Diorama Challenge, I think I did I think I did okay, because I feel a little subconscious a little bit on some of the choices I put together and things like that, but that's my personal like criticism of myself. Sometimes I criticize myself a lot or too harshly. But let's just explore. So here's the start over here, the coaster station, and then the guest port here. They go walk around in this little plaza, and then the mine shaft over here, and then here's the Silver Eagles Mining Company's symbol. Over here is the steamboat. Still haven't decided on a name yet, but I'm either gonna call it, I don't know what I'm gonna call it still. It's still a steamboat. I like the steamboat. Looks cool. And then we go across the river to the bridge here, and then over to a little mining outpost. So this is a general store, and this is like maybe another supply store of some sort. My wagon. Where's my stagecoach? Not stagecoach. Covered wagons over here, and this is just a little area for guests to kind of chill out and watch the coaster. So there's no rides that go this direction. Here's the mine shaft over here. I made this little wooden off-crop here, and the mine entrance here, and there's a mine entrance over here. This is perfect timing. Look at it's going through the mountain, coming through. That looks pretty sweet. And then over here is the giant Spire Eagle Peak, we're going to call it now. Over here is the orbiter that I covered. This is actually helpful when it starts raining in this map, especially like in the winter. And then over here is a little plaza for the drill, and then the restrooms over here. Now, one other addition I added, I did not put in the time lapse, and I felt like it was not worthy of time lapse. Was I put a mansion over here. This was kind of a last second decision, and this is kind of like I feel like this is my not well effort area, or not well thought out. So this haunted house I think would hold the owner of the mine that's across the street, and I didn't know what to do with the building here, so I kind of just made a very basic building. I'm not really proud of this build over here, but it does finish up this corner, because I didn't know what to do with this piece of track here. I could have made mountain on it too, but I felt like that was too much mountain already, because I had to build this mesa to cover up the depot. So I think this works okay. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of this at all. But I'm going to keep it because I'm done with the map. I want to move on to other projects. But here is, wow, here is the final view of Silver Valley and Silver Eagle Mining Company. So hope you guys enjoyed this little series that I did. The next couple projects, I'm not sure what I'm going for yet. I might give you an update video on that personally, of what projects I'm going to work on next. But I'm going to let you guys go, and hope you guys have a great time building. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.